Where are we now? Is it just going to go away finally, hopefully?
Yeah, we wanted to. It
Yes.
still is there, causing some localized flooding in parts of the Ohio River Valley, and that's going to be the potential at least the next 24 to 36 hours. Then it's going to rain itself out, and we don't care anymore. Yes. We want to get it on out of here, Harvey. As you take a look right now, it still is a tropical depression, though, dropping some flooding rains, bringing severe weather through Birmingham, Alabama, near Montgomery, Huntsville. Also, you can see the Nashville area dealing with some heavy rain as the center of circulation is still down in the northeast sides of Mississippi. It's pushing its way northeast at 14 miles per hour. Winds have come up just a little bit with Harvey, but still a lot of rain continuing to fall, and the future sky forecast shows heavier rain still rotating its way around that center of circulation, pushing through Tennessee and into Kentucky as we go through the next 5 to 6 hours. As we take a look on the wide view, how much rainfall? Anywhere between 6 to almost 8 inches in parts of Tennessee to near about 5.5 inches to the southeast sides of Memphis. Talked about that future sky forecast. Harvey will continue to rain tomorrow into Kentucky, then into West Virginia, and then eventually just starting to fizzle its way on out, going towards Saturday and then into Sunday. So seeing Harvey rating out just a bit, I do want to point out, though, that Irma, a lot of you have been saying, okay, here comes Irma, calm down. Irma's well off out in the East Atlantic, 775 miles west of the Cabo Verde Islands. As you take a look right now, winds are at 115 miles per hour. So it's a major hurricane, has a lot of water and a lot of time that we'll watch it. This is by Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the evening, still east of the Lesser Antilles. I do want to point out that 10 to 50% of the hurricanes where Irma formed strike the U.S. I think right now Irma's probably just going to work its way into the West Atlantic, turn back out to sea, and that's the biggest hope there. Of course, we'll watch this. Don't get worried about that yet. I do want to point out, though, that here we are rounding out August. The peak of hurricane season is in September, right around September 11th.
We now have our 9th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, the I-name Tropical Storm Irma, with sustained winds of 50 miles per hour, moving off to the west at 18 miles per hour.
Let's take a look at the track as we go forward here. So we're not looking at any impact in the islands until, let's say, early to middle part of next week. Now, when you have these tracks, you're looking at 3 potential tracks: the Atlantic, what I call the island track, and what I call the Caribbean track. At this point, it seems unlikely that this is going to be heading into the Central Caribbean. So the 2 tracks I'm going to zone in on are the island track and the Atlantic track. Because of the location of this upper high, it seems to me that this will likely go north of the islands. That's bad news, because north of the islands, assuming there's no shear, this is an area where tropical systems do like to intensify.
The National Hurricane Center says that Irma could strengthen into a hurricane possibly as soon as Friday.
And given what I'm looking at the pattern, let's say 10 days from now, I think there is at least a possibility that this system, Irma, could impact Florida or up the coast of the United States.
Here is a look at some of the forecast models. Again, we're going to be well past Labor Day before it treks across the Atlantic Ocean.
I think this is a system we have to keep an eye on for the east coast of the United States.
Now, keep in mind, it is way too soon to say if it's going to impact the United States and where it will head.
So our next speaker is Dr. Rosalind Peterson. She's the California president and co-founder of the Agriculture Defense Coalition, formed in 2006 to protect agricultural crop production from uncontrolled experimental weather modification programs. A very interesting topic, you know, for a non-specialized person like myself. But also very interesting in her CV that we have with you is also her extensive efforts to protect drinking water supplies from toxic chemical contamination in Martinez, California. That's a very interesting topic, of course, and I was actually wondering myself whether you can tackle whether the same experiments that you're holding in California could be extended to other world countries, particularly poor and developed countries like where we come from. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman. It is a pleasure to be here to speak with all of you today. One of the things that I would like to say is that we are in a global drumbeat right at the moment, talking about climate change and global warming. One of the things that is affected by climate change is agriculture. But some of what we are seeing is man-made, but man-made in a different way than you may guess. Weather modification programs, experimental ones done by private companies, done by the United States government, done by states across the United States, are underway. There's more than 50 of them in operation across the United States. All of these impact agriculture because they change the microclimates needed for agriculture to survive. None of these programs that I know of today, and this is all public record, are available at any time with oversight, agricultural oversight or public oversight. These programs impact agriculture, and there are programs around the world. International corporations are modifying our weather all the time, and they're modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. Most of it is chemically altered, so that what happens is that we are putting chemicals, ground-based chemicals that are shot into the air, or chemicals coming from airplanes that change and modify our weather. So one of the things that I'm concerned about and that we need to address in the future is how these programs are impacting microclimates needed for our crops to survive and needed for pollination. If we change the growing season, the pollinators may not survive, and also our crops, our flowers, and our tree crops may not get the pollination needed. So one of my areas is looking at this situation to see if we can begin to put under control experimental and other types of weather modification programs.
Wala ka now.
We're relieved it's over.
I'm afraid it isn't. Mount St. Helens has erupted again.
We could see an escalating series of events. Quakes, volcanoes, massive sinkholes, gaseous explosions, flooding, and other anomalies.
This sounds more like the coming of the apocalypse.
Nevada is completely overwhelmed. The collapse of Hoover Dam and now Las Vegas. We need to get teams out there right away.
I got your back.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
A new rift fault is forming in the Midwest that could potentially cut the North American continent in two.
My God!
I'm tired of hearing what we can do. Tell me what we can do.
The devil himself couldn't think of something like that.
Laura's alive, man. You gotta believe that, okay?
What's wrong?
The two largest nuclear reactors in the United States.
Our fault's got to run straight through them.
We could lose as many as 75 million people.
Then we have to stop that fault from reaching those reactors.
All we have to do is wait for the right moment, provide the fuse, and boom.
I'm tired of hearing what we can do. Tell me what we can do.
For them, the chaos started on August 3rd when the earth opened up. Cypress trees fell over and were sucked into the water. But that was the result of something bigger that had started months earlier when police on a boat ride first noticed bubbling in the bayou. The slurry stirred up trouble for residents who were forced to leave their homes. Texas Brine began paying them $875 a week for the inconvenience.
The devil himself couldn't think of something like that.
They're being told this is dangerous. Get out. And they need to get out. That land, those homes, it's useless now.
They were forced out months ago under a mandatory evacuation order when a massive sinkhole was discovered just miles from their homes. Texas Brine is taking the blame and has been paying evacuees nearly $900 a week.
They've got a situation and they're trying to tell the community clearly this is a mandatory evacuation. That means danger.